Oh, yeah, I don't know about that. Yeah. Yep. Sure.
I will go ahead and call this meeting to order. It is 7 p.m. Let us start with a moment of silence, please. And with that, I will remind everybody to put their phones on silent or turn them off. Council members, we need to put our phones away and off the desktops. If you would please. And let's stand for pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Take roll call for us, please.
Councilmember Reed. Here. Jackson.
Here.
Lawler.
Here.
Lanu.
Here.
Williamson. Here. And Mayor Snyder.
Here. Have a motion to approve the agenda.
So
Support.
Yes, we will no longer need 2020-10, which is the general. Correct.
Do I have a motion to approve of the agenda with the removal of item F? Support. City Clerk Camino?
Councilmember Reed. Jackson.
Yes.
Lawler.
Yes.
Lanu.
Yes.
Williamson.
Yes.
And Mayor Snyder.
Yes. All right, so we do start off our evening with a few presentations. And I will call up Scott Cubberly from KCC.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, council members, for the opportunity to speak with you this evening. I also just want to take a moment to thank your Albion Economic Development partners, Amy DePrez and Christine Bowman, for the work that they've been able to do in partnership with me, starting in this new position. They've been a great asset and a great help. So a couple of new and interesting things that we've got going on at the Eastern Academic Center. As a result of some investment from the Cronin Foundation and our own KCC board, we've had the opportunity to upgrade and add on to the Academic Center. We have a new industrial electrical and technology lab, a upgraded certified nursing assistant lab, and a new industrial welding lab. And those are great assets, being able to serve the eastern side of the county. We've traditionally served those industrial trades through the RMTC, and having the ability to bring classes over to the EAC in those areas will be a great benefit. We really see an opportunity to serve employers in the area with any of their retention efforts and upskilling in the community. It's going to be important. We've got two outstanding instructors. Danny Webb is our electrical instructor lead, and Preston Graham is our welding instructor. And those individuals are extremely passionate about what they're doing. If you have the opportunity to stop by, they'd be more than happy to take you on a personal tour of their labs, talk to you a little bit about what they do. You can engage with you can earn a certificate in industrial welding or a certificate in industrial electrical or industrial technology at the EAC. If you want to move on to a associate's degree, there will be some classes that you would need to take over at the RMTC, but the goal is to really get people going and started here locally and take them as far as we can. One of the things that we have is we have an open entry, open exit format at the EAC for our trades. So what that means for individuals in the community is you do not have to wait for the next semester. If you want to start today and you've made a decision, you can call up tomorrow, make an appointment, speak to Donna Jeffrey, our center assistant, and get yourself going. And before the end of the week, you'll be able to start classes. They're module based, so we get you set up with classes that you can finish before the end of the semester. So it's a great way to get started, get engaged, and move forward on a new career opportunity for you. A couple other things that we have going on there. We also have a partnership with Marshall Public Schools for the early college. That's a great opportunity. We just hosted on last Thursday for our manufacturing day, almost 200 10th grade students from Marshall Public Schools and the OHS. That was a great opportunity. We had 6 employers there to really talk to students and give them an opportunity to see a connection between training and education to career opportunities in the community. Specific training opportunities that are available here locally. We have the Michigan Reconnect Scholarship opportunity through the state of Michigan. So if you're over 25 years of age, you do not currently have a college degree, you have the opportunity to get free tuition to complete an associate's degree or a certificate. All you have to do is reach out to our admissions team and follow through, and we'll be able to get you connected. We also have a unique opportunity that we'll be bringing to the Albion area through Miley Grant. That is a 2-year grant opportunity that we will be bringing what we do pretty well over in the Battle Creek area through our IAC program. So we will be bringing over the Kellogg Advanced Manufacturing and Assembly program and the Certified Nurses Assistant program. We'll be running 1 cohort of each in 2022 and 2023. If we could stretch things and find some other matching dollars, we'll be able to do some additional training if possible. We also have the opportunity to assist local employers with customized training opportunities. So we can assist with expansion and attraction by leveraging Michigan New Jobs Training Program, which is a statewide program for community colleges, where we can fund up to $500,000 for a project for net new jobs brought to an area. Additionally, we have employer-sponsored customized training options, so we can work locally with employers to create those opportunities where they can sponsor, upgrade, upskill their existing employees or invest in new hire training as well. And also, we have opportunities to work with employers to set up apprenticeship programs. We can do partnership with funding for Michigan Works for the Going Pro Talent Fund as well. So we've got lots of opportunities locally that we can work with our partners to provide job training and assistance to employers and individuals in the community. And then lastly, just a couple of key dates for you. So spring classes for the spring semester will be starting October 25th. Is when we have open registration at that point in time. But again, if you want to start now, if you know somebody that has the interest in starting now in the trades, we have that open entry, open exit format available. And then lastly, on November 9th from 6 to 7:30 p.m., we will be having our virtual college night for the county with over 50 colleges, universities, and military options available. Financial aid assistance will be available as well. If you have interest, last screen. If you'd like more information about engaging, if you're an employer or a community stakeholder and you'd like to engage with us, please feel free to reach out to me. My phone number and email is there. And if you're a member of the community or just have general questions, Don Jeffrey, our center assistant, is extremely great to work with. A font of wisdom out there at the EAC and loves doing her job and engaging with students. So we're here to help and provide opportunity and just meet you where you are and what the community is looking to do. We're going to be here to assist you.
Do you have any questions for Mr. Cubberly? So I had the opportunity to go out Thursday at their open house, and I was thoroughly impressed with the technology that they have out there. That was my first time actually going to that building, even though it's been there for years and years. You know, we had talked several months ago about how do we get the word out about the opportunities that KCC is offering our residents, you know, not just our students, but adult learners too. That whole open entry, open leave is ideal for the adult learners who just need to get training. So definitely let your constituents know that that is something there. It's a resource if they are looking to just get some training on a skilled trade so they can become employable. I know KCC works with local industries to help get people placed. So again, it's a wonderful resource. I was thoroughly impressed, and so I appreciate you being here tonight.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So next we have Director Arnold. Yes.
Yes. Kelly and Glenn, if you want to come forward and speak though.
I think Director Arnold's in the next room. So he invited us to come and speak to you tonight. I'll introduce myself. I am Glenn Lindsay. I'm the Director of Operations for the Midwest with Safe Built. And this is
Kelly Lindsay, and I'm your account manager with Safe Built.
So I'll give you a little bit of history. Many of you may not know or have heard the name Safe Built. We are currently your building department services provider. We provide all of the permitting and inspections for construction, electrical, plumbing, mechanical work within the city limits of Albion. And my wife and I actually started our own business in 2009. It was called Cornerstone Inspection Services. Some of you may have heard of that. We operated here in the city since 2010 until we partnered with Safe Built in 2016. I actually purchased our company and we stayed on board with them. So it's been a really good partnership. We don't have any regrets in partnering with them. They are a national company. They were able to provide us the resources that we needed to expand in Michigan. And we've been able to do so with their partnership. So what we're here tonight to discuss is we are about 2/3, 3/4 of the way through a fee structure change with all of our clients, all of our existing or legacy clients. They were on a per inspection type of fee structure, and we're actually going to evaluation-based fee structure. So we're here to present that to you. I don't know if you had it in your packets, an example or some of the samples of the differences between the two structures. It's going to be very little impact. As you can see on the right-hand column, the increase versus decrease. There's actually a couple of projects that the permit fees will go down a little bit with the new structure. And then even the ones that are going up, it's very, very minimal. And I did put some talking points at the bottom, and I'll just highlight a few of those. This new fee structure will replace the current structure and eliminate the automatic $2 increase biannually. So right now, under their current contract that you have with Safe Built, the fees go up $2 per inspection all across the different disciplines every 2 years. September of 2021 was actually the fee increase that should have happened. We've held off on that, knowing that this was coming. We didn't see any reason to increase them, just for a couple of months and then go to this new system. And some of the reasons that we're doing this is the new fee structure will also eliminate the need for 2 sets of applications. Right now you have residential applications and you have commercial applications. those all get combined into one set of applications. So it'll make it a little easier for the residents and the contractors to apply for permits. These fees are identical to the current state of Michigan fees. We're trying to provide consistency throughout the state. There's a lot of different, agencies out there that have different pricing models, and we're looking for consistency for your contractors that are pulling permits here in the city. They go to the city next door, and we have a different fee from them. So we're just trying to provide some consistency for that. And then once adopted, these fees will closer align the city's fees with the statewide fees, as I just spoke about. And then also, right now, the current fee structure is Cornerstone had their own set of fees, and then the city chose to add 10% onto those fees as a processing fee. With the new structure, there's not going to be an add-on 10%. We're gonna collect the fees, and then we're just going to automatically give you 10% back. So you're not losing that 10%. We're just not going to charge it to the property owners above and beyond what our fees are. So that it'll go over a little bit easier with the people that are applying. It makes it more of a seamless transition. Your city staff here doesn't have to try to calculate what that 10% is. They just pay the fees that are calculated, and then we bill the city for 90% of those fees. So those are the main talking points. I know you have a full agenda and you have a lot of business to take care of tonight. We don't want to take up too much of your time, but if there are any questions, we are open to answer any questions that you might have.
And I want to add on really quick, Glenn and Kelly have done nothing but great to work with, and Safe Built has, through Cornerstone, through them, has been working with us for going on 15, 16 years at this point. And well, they have our full support. They have my full support. They do a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of keeping everything we do legal, keeping it right, and keeping our residents safe. So this is getting the bookkeeping up the right way, getting a formal agreement, which you can probably expect to see at the next city council meeting, to put it on paper, exactly how we're doing the fee schedule adjustment. I was watching from the other rooms who were on a delay, so I didn't get in before them, but yeah, they're great to work with. They make my life a whole lot easier, and this is going to make their life and my life a whole lot easier still.
Thank you, Ian. We have questions? Thank you both for being here.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So next we have a couple of proclamations. So I'm going to go ahead and call Dr. Harry Bonner on up so we can read these proclamations.
Hi, my name is Leslie Katz. I'm the academic advisor at Commercial Academy.
I'm Wanda Kim, co-director for Kids at Home.
He would like us to be here for this.
Okay. Do you all have a presentation, or do you want me to?
I have a little bit to share. So as the academic advisor at Marshall Academy, I wear many hats, and one of those is for the last 5 years, I've supported mentoring programs at Marshall Academy through Kids at Hope. And this will be our first year celebrating and promoting Red Ribbon Week. And I don't know if you're familiar with it, it's new to us, but it's really about drug-free lifestyles for children and an education program. And they have a theme this year, drug-free looks like me. So we are using our mentees in the group, and we're putting them in leadership. We're a K-12 building, so our high school boys, who are all taller than me and definitely bigger than me, are going to go and talk to kindergartners and first graders and second graders about why it's important to be drug-free. And I think that's a really powerful message coming from students rather than just us adults who preach to them all the time. So that's something that we're going to do at Marshall Academy, and I'm really excited that Albion is doing a proclamation for Red Ribbon Week to help support that as well.
Just that I'm excited about it because just growing up, I used to enjoy watching the youth being young, and like she said, seeing someone that come in that looked like me to explain it to me instead of adults. So I'm excited to see the youth be able to reach out to the youth to persuade and keep them on the right track. So I'm really excited about the Red Ribbon Week.
All right, so I will go ahead and read our proclamation for Red Ribbon Week. October 23rd through the 31st of 2021. Whereas Red Ribbon Week, founded in 1985, is the oldest and largest drug prevention campaign in the country. And whereas Red Ribbon Week began as a way to honor Special Agent Enrique Camarena, who lost his life in the fight against drugs, and the DEA's effort to reduce demand for drugs through prevention and education programs. And whereas Red Ribbon Week is nationally recognized and celebrated by wearing red ribbons and badges. And whereas Red Ribbon Week serves as a vehicle for communities and individuals to take a stand for the hopes and dreams of our children through a personal commitment to live drug-free lives, with the ultimate goal being the creation of a drug-free America. Now therefore be it resolved, I, Victoria Snyder, Mayor, on behalf of the Albion City Council, do proclaim October 23rd through the 31st, 2021 as Red Ribbon Week, and urge all of Albion citizens to make a commitment to live a drug-free life. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of this city to be affixed. So this is one proclamation.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next is the proclamation recognizing Saturday, October 23rd, 2021 as Drug Take Back Day in Albion. Whereas Saturday, October 23rd, 2021 from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., Albion Homer Substance Abuse Prevention Coalition, in conjunction with the Albion Department of Public Safety and the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, will give the public its 17th opportunity in 9 years to prevent prescription drug abuse and theft by ridding their homes of potentially dangerous, expired, unused, and unwanted prescription drugs. And whereas the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration's National Survey on Drug Use and Health shows year after year that the majority of misused and abused prescription drugs are obtained from family and friends, including someone else's medication being stolen from the home medicine cabinet. And whereas Americans are now advised that their usual methods for disposing of unused medicines, flushing them down the toilet or throwing them in the trash, both pose potential safety and health hazards. And whereas medicines that languish in home cabinets are highly susceptible to diversion, misuse, and abuse. And whereas rates of prescription drug abuse in the U.S. are alarmingly high, as are the number of accidental poisonings and overdoses due to these drugs. And whereas overall, in its 16 previous take-back events, DEA and its partners have taken in almost 11 million pounds, nearly 5,500 tons of pills. And whereas this initiative addresses a vital public safety and public health issue. Now therefore, I, Victoria Snyder, Mayor of Albion, do hereby proclaim Saturday, October 23rd, 2021 as Drug Take Back Day in Albion. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused to be affixed the official seal of Albion, Michigan on this 18th day of October in the year 2021. Gentlemen, take it away.
All right, I'm Chris Farmer, Precinct 1. I'm also a prevention specialist working with Substance Abuse Prevention Services, Mr. Bonner, two young women who've already approached you today, and Marie's here. We are now, let's see, 6 days, 14 hours, 34 minutes, and 55 seconds from 10 a.m. Saturday, okay, which is the next National Drug Take Back Day. What's important about the National Drug Take Back is that it provides everyone in the country an opportunity to prevent, actually actively prevent drug overdose, accidental medication use by young people in particular. And so from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on a Saturday at Albion Family Fair Supermarket, we are now, this is our probably 7th or 8th time that we've done this twice a year. The next take back will be in April. Okay, so every 6 months, there's a national check. And what's significant about the take back is it's a requirement that, well, the DEA is the organizer. And they require that police departments be involved in the take back. So there's a police officer there. The police remove the pills and such that have been deposited in a safe box, and then incinerate them. The closest pickup point is in Marshall at the county, Calhoun County Sheriff's Department. That in a nutshell is take back. It's extremely critical that we remain consistent with all of that. Yeah.
Not just family support.
So a few quick statistics. 97 million people misused prescription pain relievers, 4.9 million people misused prescription stimulants, 5.9 million people misused prescription tranquilizers or sedatives in 2019. This is huge. The pounds and pounds, the tons of pills that have been pulled off the shelves out of people's medicine cabinets. And we don't have to wait until the take back occurs. Downstairs in the lobby here, there are 2 metal boxes. One's for sharps. Any sharps that people have, they can bring them to City Hall here and deposit them there, as well as the red med box, which is down there. So for disposal, people can bring their unwanted, unused, outdated medications and deposit them right here. So we try to, throughout the year, every opportunity, we try to let people know and pass the word that those depositories are available right here at City Hall.
We appreciate you here giving us that information.
You're welcome.
Next up, we have our improvement projects for the USDA-RD funding. Mr. Jeff Landers.
All set? Okay. As an engineer, I like to point at things, so I may walk over and point at the stuff. I'll try not to do that too much, but as you can probably tell from your packet, there's a lot of information here. I'm going to try and get through this pretty quick. So the wastewater treatment plant's improvement project that we've got going on. I'm going to go through a few things here for you and try and explain what we're doing and what we're looking at. I've gone through all this with Haley and also with Patrick Miller in the past, so they're up to speed and aware of what we're doing. Something we've been working on for a long time. So first I'll talk about kind of how we got here. Then I'll walk through the scope of the project, application items as part of the USDA-RD application process for the loan. And what's included in that. I'll go through some project costs, some potential rate effects and how that's going to affect rates. I'll also talk about project schedule and the funding schedule and what that's going to look like. And then at the end, we'll conclude with the motions needed to move forward, which I believe are in your agenda packet already. So yeah, go ahead. So back in 2017, the city council here approved a capital improvements plan that included project items for the wastewater treatment plant to have some improvements done with a scheduled values and project scopes. In 2018, a SAW grant was granted by the state for funding for the infrastructure to be taken a closer look at and then planned out. And so that initial CIP project scope was reevaluated and looked at in a more defined way. And then M&B, more Bruggink, my company, was brought in to evaluate those and make sure that the costs and the scopes of those projects were something that made sense for the wastewater treatment plant as a whole. So in 2019, we began taking a look at the R&D application process and what that would look like. We started the actual application back in 2019. It's an online application. We met with the USDA, had some kickoff meetings with them at the time, and then began working on developing all of the items, including the big report that's in your packet today as part of that. And then, of course, 2020 and 2021, we had a lot of overturn here in staff, and then COVID delays kind of basically just bumped things down the road. So now we're sitting at 2021, and the application is basically complete at this point. And we're looking at moving forward and having the application submitted to the USDA for funding. Go ahead there. All right, so project scope, there's a lot of items at the wastewater treatment plant that are within this scope. Our goal is to try and take care of anything at the wastewater treatment plant that you guys would need to handle within the next 10 to 15 years there. Outside of minor normal operation and maintenance. So we're looking at the influent chamber, screening, pump station, grit removal, all of these process items here that you see on the left. There's a very large portion of the plant that we're looking at taking on, along with the existing buildings. The exteriors need work, the roofs need work, HVAC systems. Along with that, electrical control centers and LED lighting we're looking at putting those in. There's a lot of these items that are efficiency items. They're older items that as we replace these, we'll see cost savings in operation of the plant. Full plant SCADA, for instance, is a way to remotely monitor the plant. So if something goes wrong, it automatically will send an alert to the operators, let them know that something's wrong in the plant. They need to go there and take care of it before there's an emergency situation, which always ends up costing more money in the long run. So you can go ahead next here. So this is just a map of the plant, and this will show you kind of all the different areas we're touching here. I can leave that up there for a minute, but there's, like I said, quite a bit of it that we're going to take care of. We've got some pavement reconstruction even, and some sidewalk maintenance items that need to be handled there, just for safety, for walking around, traveling around the plant. All right, so the USDA application, the application for the loan through the Rural Development Project, or through the Rural Development Program. The online application process, it reviews the need for the project. It also takes a look at, project alternatives, develop budgets for those, estimates for those, things like that, and what that's going to look like and how it affects the city as a whole, as far as financially and operationally. So one major component of that is the PER, the preliminary engineering report. That's that very large report that's right in the middle of your packet today. I'm sure you guys all read all of it. There's a lot of information in there. That's why I'm here kind of going through some of this stuff to just give you the basics of what's in there and then hit the important parts of that. But that is required by the USDA as part of the application process for the loan. So other items that I didn't work on necessarily, but they are part of the application process. The city financial health stuff, they take a look at that. The USDA hired an environmental assessment company that is subsidized by the USDA to be able to provide that service for free. So that environmental impact assessment was done. That's also in there. They also take a look at past state violations in wastewater, and then they review the legal agreements between the bond attorney, the city attorney, and the engineer. So our agreements with you guys are all reviewed by the USDA as well. But the bottom line down there in the blue is that RD funding is meant to help the community. They take a look at it financially and all of these aspects and environmentally to make sure that we're not damaging the community by taking out this loan and what that's going to look like. Also, along with that, this is similar to like if you're going to take out a credit card loan, like let's say, they may approve you for a certain amount, but you're not required to take that entire amount. And so that'll kind of come into play as we move forward here. You can go ahead. So cost development and how we determine these costs now. So this is a very old plant. We've got plans back at 1946 for this plant. And then we have another one in 1971. And I went through each page of those, kind of redlined them up and determined what the exact scope of what we really need to do there. We talked to supply vendors for budget pricing. We went out and got budget prices for all of the major pieces of equipment, the clarifier mechanisms and blowers and pumps and everything else that we need. So we obtained budget prices for those. Budget prices means they're higher prices meant to fit into your budget so that you can plan for them in the future. So as we move forward, the idea is that those numbers shrink a little bit. So you're planning, you want to plan big and then land small with this stuff. That's how everybody looks good, right? So we also talked to some past site contractors for their experience working on site. There's a lot of underground water issues at the site that they've had. And so we've talked to some contractors about what that looks like, their experience, what they went through when they were dealing with that. We looked at our own recent project experience over the last 10 years. We've done over $100 million in construction projects and wastewater treatment alone. So we're pretty experienced. We've been able to go back and use that experience within planning for this project as well. And then we've also talked to the USDA. When it comes to the estimates, there's a lot of factors that we put in because the construction of this, it's going to take about a year for us to design it. And it's going to take about a year to 18 months to implement because there's so much here. So we're looking at construction that's a year out from now. And I don't know if you guys know, but there's shipping and labor and all kinds of materials problems and costs are going up. And so we don't really know what those look like. So we had a lot of discussions with the USDA. How do we plan for that? How do we plan for sort of that unknown? And so these numbers have factors built in to make sure that we're covered on market shifts and market changes a year from now. I went through a lot of this stuff on the slide already, but yeah, USD, that's the cost influences, the project schedule being out further. These are conceptual and budget level estimations. What that means is we haven't designed this project yet. I've done kind of as much preliminary engineering as I can do to this point without getting into full-blown engineering on this. As we move forward and we better define the scope and we get down to full design, there'll be, at the end of the design, there's an engineering cost estimate that will be provided, and that's what we'll go out to bid on. We expect that also to be lower than where we are now. Again, budget planning, making sure that we've got enough money available. Application loan amount. So two parts of this, that top part there, engineering application, design, bidding, and bonding. So there's a bunch of stuff that we've got to do in order to get this designed. There's also some items that we've already done that you'll be able to roll into that loan. So the application, all of the engineering and everything that went into the preliminary engineering report, all of that is, you can be reimbursed for through the loan. And I'll get into a little bit more of that a little bit later. Same with the bond attorney and some of the administration of the bond as well. Construction costs, we're looking at $15,533,000. That's construction of the improvements, full-time inspection oversight, which is required by USDA as part of their program. So we're providing a full-time site inspector to be there to oversee everything and make sure we're QAing the contractor as everything's going in. And then our construction administration, and then contingency and allowances for things like dewatering and stuff like that. Go back up a little bit. There you go. So that total loan cost of $16,854,000. That's our estimate right now for the total cost of this project and what we would be looking at for the loan. When we did all the evaluation for the loan, we looked at an even $17 million just to make sure that we're covered there. There you go. So what does this mean for our rates, right? Like, this is a big number. So you can go ahead down to the next one there. All right, so potential rate effects. Right now, there's a step-up program in place for a 7.5% rate adjustment annually. That's currently happening. In 2020, we'd like to see that go up to 13.9% for the next 3 years, just to make sure that we're covering the cost of the loan. So we've got, you can see there in the yellow, I think if you actually go to the next slide, there's some red boxes. There we go. So you can see that $17 million there in the yellow, you see the 13.9 million. And that box on the bottom there, that 542,000, that's the payment that will need to be made annually to the RD for the loan repayment. You can see up there in the other red box, we got 0% grant, 1.25% for 40 years. So that's the loan. You guys qualify for a 1.25% loan interest on the loan, which is extremely low. That's very, very good. And that's a number that's approved through the USDA as of October 1st. So that's a 40-year loan. Again, that's 0% grant. There's a small percentage chance you guys will qualify for a loan. I don't think that you're gonna get it, mostly because your rates are too low. The way that the USDA looks at how the loan is going to affect a community is where their rates are, and then what this loan is going to do to the rates. And if that goes over a certain threshold, then you kind of kick into this grant program that they have. But your rates are low enough that even with these 13.9% rate increases, you're not getting past that threshold where they feel like you guys are going to be, it's going to be an additional hardship on the community to be able to handle those. So you can scroll down again. There we go. So here's your current rates. So that 5/8 inch meter, that top one there, that's 32.75. These are quarterly numbers. So that 5/8 inch meter, that's the majority of your customers. And you want to scroll down to the next slide there. So I put this together. So that on that 5/8 inch meter in green, and then you've got the 32.75, the $32.75 sewer base, and then down below underneath that, the other green, that's the monthly cost change to users under that. But you can see you've got 2,613 of your customers are on a 5/8 inch meter right now. So that's the vast majority of your customers right now. With these rate increases, you can see the 2022, 23, 24 columns. In that red box there, that's the change, the monthly change to the bill. So in 2022, you'd see $1.52 change monthly per customer on that 5/8 inch meter. And then the next year would be an increase of $1.73 per month change. So it doesn't, even though they sound like they're big numbers, there's not a lot. It doesn't increase the rates very much. You're just talking about $1.50 a month. So project and funding schedule. So on the left there, we need to finish the application and apply. The next step will be approval of the loans by USDA, and then we'll move into design, and then we'll bid the construction project. Once those construction bids come in, we'll accept that. We'll accept the bid for the construction project, and then we have to go out and sell the USDA bonds for the approved amount. So that's where you guys will get the loan, and then all of those items previous you'll be reimbursed for at that point. So then we've got some milestone dates over there on the right, submitting the application. There we go. USDA, if we do that this month, I'd expect USDA approval somewhere in the neighborhood of December. We'll be looking at city approval the month after, submit design and permitting in October of next year. Permit approvals, it tends to take about 60 days, 30 to 60 days for permit approval, and then complete design in 2023. Bid opening somewhere in March 2023, and then about a year or so for construction, year to 18 months for construction on that. All right, so items for today. We have these, I think these are all already in the packet a little bit later, but the items required by USDA to complete the loan are a notice of intent. That is basically a public notice, just letting everyone know that we're going to go out and apply for this loan. So that needs to be published in a local paper. Once that's done, we can submit to the USDA application. The council approval, so the next motion there would be to the council approval for formally submitting the USDA application for this project totaling $16,283,000 based on the PER presented project or the preliminary engineering report. And then council approval of the engineering agreement, the E500, that's also in your packet. So that is your engineering agreement with me, with my numbers all in there. Like I said, that's also in your packet. I can point you directly to parts of that so you can see the numbers if you like. The E500 also, I noticed when I was looking in your packet, it's not contingent upon or pending funding approval by USDA, but the motion should probably be pending approval by USDA. You guys are not gonna, if you guys get rejected by USDA for the loan, you're not gonna pay me to do a full design and everything else, right? So the engineering agreement is contingent upon, should be contingent upon getting the loan, right, being approved for the loan. And then council approval of reimbursement resolution provided by Harkness. So Colin and I put together a reimbursement resolution and then provided that to Haley. I think you guys have that. So that would be, once you get the loan, you have to provide a reimbursement resolution to formally pay yourselves instead of paying us for that stuff. That's how that works. Does that make sense? Okay, because the application says that you're paying, but you've already paid, so. That's all I have. I think the next one just shows some nice pictures of the plant there. But is there any questions on this? It's a big project, definitely needs to happen. I don't know if anybody's got a chance to get down and check out the wastewater treatment plant.
Any questions? Right, well, thank you for the presentation.
You're welcome, thank you.
So we're gonna have a public hearing, correct? Okay. So at this time, we will open it up for public comments related to the agenda items only. So if there's anybody within the gallery that would like to stand, you can state your name, your address, and you will have 3 minutes to speak.
Good evening, Sally Brown, 713 Orchard Drive. Somebody said that? Oh, okay. So I provided a copy to every council member tonight. I'm speaking to your consent calendar item, the DDA application, and the recommendation, I guess, for the appointment to the DDA of Corinne Atchison. So June 6th of 2020, there was an issue that was brought to me by Councilmember Williamson concerning this DDA applicant. And it is a comment that she made on a public Facebook post that I myself was not following and never would have seen had it not been for Councilmember Williamson. The post is regarding Congresswoman Omar, who represents the state of Minnesota. And it's an article about the Congresswoman and her opinion that the Minneapolis Police Department should be disbanded. So Ms. Atchison's comment, as shared with me by Councilmember Williamson, states, if she thinks living in a country of lawlessness is so great, she needs to go back to Somalia. And those that support her should go too. So, so Shane says to me, thought you might be interested in this, saw it on Facebook tonight. Let me know how I can help. My response, Shane, you cannot be a co-conspirator of white supremacy in Albion and then turn around and attempt to be an ally in private. You see the wrong in this post. Otherwise, you wouldn't have sent it to me. This is your time and your issue to address. Shane, while I resent the first part of your statement, I can agree that I have more work to do to make sure that I am a public ally living my values. I in no way intend to be any ally only in private, as you have said. I appreciate being able to have direct communication with you. My response: it may not be your intention, but intentions don't matter. I could provide you with a list of issues you remain silent about or vocalize your support for systemic racism. However, it's important to do your own work and self-reflection. So I present this to you tonight to say, I disapprove of this appointment for this DDA applicant. And Councilmember Williamson, I hope you tonight have done your self-reflection and that you become a public ally. Thank you.
Good evening, Council. Garrett Brown, 1016 South Superior Street. A couple of things. So one, regarding the matter that former Mayor Pro Tem Brown mentioned, the council rules actually instruct the council to do a roll call vote on appointments. So that shouldn't be under consent agenda. That's Rule 13H. So just to remind you all of that. So that should be changed. A couple of questions. So under item E, the discussion regarding the overlay district for marijuana, I'm curious if any of the council members watched the planning commission meeting. I hope you all did. I think the council voted to, or the intention was to limit the number of licenses, but I think there needs to be, before you all approve that, there needs to be some serious questions about what this new method of doing that the attorneys proposed, that the attorney is proposing would do, and would it actually have that effect? Because I had some concerns when I watched that meeting. So I think hopefully there's a robust explanation of that before you all approve of that. Yeah, that's it. I just, like I said, the appointment shouldn't be under consent agenda, and please ask questions and get an understanding about the request for you all to amend that ordinance regarding the overlay district and what effect that will have on the number of licenses. Thank you.
Anybody else want to like to address? Do we have anybody on? Right. Do I have a motion to adjourn for a closed session? Second.
Councilmember Jackson,
Yes.
Lawler,
Yes.
Lanu,
Yes.
Williamson.
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. We'll adjourn at 7:52.
Do I have a motion to resume? Come on.
Lord,
December Lawler,
Yes.
Lanu,
Yes.
Williamson,
yes.
Reed. Yes. Jackson,
Yes.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. All right, meeting resumed 8:30 p.m. We're going to move on to our consent calendar. Within the consent calendar, we have the October 4th study session, October 4th regular session minutes, approve the annual dues for NML. We have the board appointment for Fran Atkinson and approve of the closure of East Erie Street for the second annual boss up. We have, nope, it's in this. Okay. Motion to approve. Is it open discussion?
So there was, Cullen help us with this.
Well, okay, so before you have a discussion, you should have a motion and a second to approve, and then you can discuss.
Do I have a motion to approve?
Support.
So you made the motion.
I made the motion for question. Is that what you're talking about? We're gonna make a motion.
To you have a motion to approve it and a second, and then you have discussion.
Okay. Make a motion.
Motion, okay. Do I have support?
Support.
Okay. Now we can discuss.
Okay, so, Cullen, does does it have to be changed when we do boards and commission appointments? Do we do them individually?
Well, it's not about doing it individually. Technically, under our rules of procedure, the agenda for a regular meeting would have an appointment to a board or commission under items for individual discussion. So the simple fix for that would be just move that, actually, to avoid screwing up the agenda, just move that to what was item F, and just make that the new item F. And then vote on the balance as a single item. Somebody would need to make a motion to amend the agenda.
I'll make a motion to amend the agenda.
And that would be clear to say you're moving that appointment to be item F of the agenda.
All right, I make an amendment to move the boards and commissions appointment under item F.
Do I have a support?
Support.
So then, Cullen, when we first approved of the agenda, initially, we had, so
So you're amending the agenda, is what you're doing.
see if I can go.
Councilmember Leo,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Reed.
Yes.
Jackson.
Yes.
Lawler,
Yes.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. So everything else. So under the consent calendar.
So
go back to
moved.
that, okay.
Second.
You already moved and seconded.
Second, is it to do it again? Okay.
Just a vote, yeah.
So the clerk-
Thank you. Councilmember Lanu,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Reed.
Yes.
Jackson.
Yes.
Lawler,
Yes.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Do I have a motion to approve the NOI publication in the Albion report?
Support.
City manager Snyder, you wanna?
Thank you, Mayor. So just follow up to the presentation given by Jeff Landers with Warren Bruggink. So this publication just needs to be approved by council, and then it will be published in our local paper, just informing our residents that we will be submitting a USDA-RD application to for improvements to the wastewater treatment plant. So we are just recommending that this is approved so we can get it published this week.
Any questions for city manager Snyder? City Clerk Domingo?
Councilmember Williamson,
Yes.
Reed. Yes. Jackson,
Yes.
Lawler,
Yes.
Lanu,
Yes.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes.
Do I have a motion to approve the submission of the RD application?
So moved.
Support.
Register.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So this is,
One that we spoke on.
so this is again, follow up to the presentation Mr. Landers gave to you all tonight. This is the complete application for the city to submit to the USDA-RD program. It's been a long time coming and in the works. We want to thank Laura Bruggink for continuing to work with the city along our series of transition, not only in the city manager's office, but then within the Department of Public Services. So we are very anxious to get this approved by council and submitted to USDA.
Questions for City Manager Slater? City Clerk Domingo?
Councilmember Reed. Yes. Jackson,
Yes.
Lawler,
Yes.
Lanu,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Motion to approve the E500 engineering agreement aligning with the scope of the work of the application.
So if you recall from the presentation, probably the one thing that's missing from this is it was suggested that we add contingent on grant. And so I would just add that to your motion that it contingent on grant approval as part of the motion.
Do I have a motion to approve with the contingency of grant approval?
So moved.
Support.
City Manager Slater?
Thank you, Mayor. So this is the official agreement to allow more Bruggink to really get started with this project. So we're just recommending that this is approval contingent on our application being approved by the USDA. And Attorney Partridge has also had the opportunity to review this agreement as well, so it passes his office. So we recommend it.
We made some changes in the engineering permit to all.
Questions for City Manager Slater or Attorney Hartness?
Councilmember Jackson,
Yes.
Lawler,
Yes.
Lanu,
Yes.
Williamson.
Yes.
Reed. Yes. And Mayor Snyder.
Yes. I have a motion to approve the resolution declaring official intent to reimburse expenditures from proceeds of borrowers.
So moved.
Second. Thank you, Manager Slater.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is the resolution. So once we, this allows the city to reimburse ourselves once we obtain the loan or the bonds to move forward with this project. Drafted by Attorney Harkness as well as Lauren Bruggink. So we're just recommending approval.
Questions? City Clerk Domingo?
Councilmember Lawler,
Yes.
Lanu,
Yes.
Williamson.
Yes.
Reed. Yes. Jackson,
Yes.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Motion to approve the first reading of the ordinance to amend chapter 100.
So moved.
Yes, Councilman.
Okay. Is this the one, where we're limiting?
Yes.
Okay.
Support if there wasn't support.
It wasn't.
Sure. So what you have before you is a draft ordinance that makes some changes to the zoning ordinance that the city has. The amendment to, so just by way of reference, the zoning ordinance is contained within chapter 100. So that's why we're amending chapter 100. But so we're making some slight modifications to the definition section contained in 2.2 just to add the relevant things pretty much for adult use. But the bigger two changes are we create ordinance 7.24A and 7.24B. We did it as A and B because unfortunately, and this is no fault certainly our current planning, Mr. Arnold, or even our previous planning director, Mr. Tracy, they just didn't build in reserved ordinances, so that's why we did it as A and B. Basically, what we've done here, the previous ordinances limited the different adult use and medical marijuana facilities to specific zoning districts, but based on the conversations that I've had with council, both in open and closed sessions, what we've created here is 2 overlay districts that are contained completely within the M1 and M2 zone areas, which is effectively within the industrial park. Mr. Arnold has some maps that have the highlighted areas that will basically show you where the overlay districts are. The one on the left we'll call overlay district 1, and the one on the right we'll call overlay district 2. In creating the overlay districts, they currently surround all of the existing medical and adult use facilities, with the exception of the one dispensary that we have operating in town. That dispensary is only operating on the medical side, it's not operating as adult use, but any future facilities that want to operate and any new applicants will have to be located within the established overlay districts. One of the other changes that we've made, and it's not within this ordinance, but if you recall, we did, it's in the ordinance under what I'll just refer to as our general law, it's not the zoning ordinance, is we modified the adult use ordinance such that there's no longer a cap on the number of licenses. The reason that we did that is because with no cap, we don't have to worry about any kind of competitive process with who gets the licenses. But by creating the overlay districts, you've effectively limited the number of facilities that actually can operate by virtue of geography. They all have to be in that area, and they can only have so many licenses, physically operate with so many licenses. So while allowing them to have as many licenses as they want, they're limited to a very specific geographic area. And so you're not putting a cap on it, you're just saying you have to operate here, and they'll only be able to have so many. That's basically it in a nutshell. One modification we do need to make to the ordinance tonight, because this was drafted with the intention of it coming to in September, the current dates on there say first reading September 20th, which would obviously have to be changed to October 18th. And then second reading would need to be November 1st. And the effective date would need to be November 20th. And so those are really the substantive changes that we made to the zoning ordinance. And I'm happy to answer any questions, other than to say, basically, in order to operate in the overlay district, it's a special use permit application. And so every applicant moving forward after the effective date will basically have to go to planning commission and obtain a special use permit to operate within the overlay district, and then they'll still go through the same application process that we've been doing with the last set of applications that the council saw, the thorough screening from all the departments and the planning commission, and then ultimately with the council vote to whether to approve or deny the license. Questions? And I was just going to say, I would add, because the planning commission did have a meeting on this, the planning commission held a public hearing, the planning commission approved it with the map as presented. The overlay districts can be expanded in the future should the planning commission and council so desire, but we wanted this in place immediately for reasons that we discussed in our first session. And to meet the time frame that we had set up, we would need to have first reading tonight and approval on the first, or second reading and approval on the first.
I reached out to planning commission members, and I just think that their voice isn't at the table here tonight, but they were disgruntled with this process. They expressed their displeasure with how this happened, and essentially feel that council has bullied them into this decision, because we had already approved this ordinance or approve the path that we were on. And so really, we were just saying, this is what it's gonna be, and the planning commission just had a rubber stamp it for us, and really it needed to be the opposite way. The planning commission brings these things to us, and I think that points to the disjointed process that we created from the start of this a few months ago, where we decided to repeal or change the rules after we had already made them on council, which created this process. And I think Attorney Harkness and the firm who has helped develop these special intricate rules and layovers that they wouldn't have been necessary had we paid attention to the will of the voters and allowed more of this industry to come in under the last license number, which was going to be 20. And then lastly, because I'll be voting no on this, I just want to add that a limit on licenses, while we're not officially putting a cap on licenses, by geography we are. So great, so legally on paper, we're not putting a cap, but geographically we are. We are limiting business, and we're limiting employment opportunity, high-paying employment opportunity, $20 and $25 an hour jobs for people who do not have to be highly skilled, which is a labor market that this city and the surrounding area continues to have a need for high-paying jobs. They can have better homes, better cars, better outcomes for their kids. So I appreciate all the work that's been done on this. I recognize that I'm one of the 6 on council who's probably going to vote no on this. But I think this whole process was a mistake, and it isn't leading to good outcomes economically for our city.
Yes, Councilwoman Robert.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. I just have one question. Is marijuana plants the only big money that we can get people per hour? Because I'm sure there are other jobs that we can bring to Albion that will pay good. And a lot of people in this community are looking for those other jobs, not just marijuana. So I just thought I might put that out there. And I'm looking forward to seeing more jobs just besides marijuana.
Attorney Purpose?
So, and to your point, Councilwoman Lawler, one of the benefits of the overlay district is it, as we indicated, that facilities have to operate within those specific geographic areas, so it effectively reserves several of the parcels within the industrial park for other industries. So if a business were to come in and they want to do some sort of manufacturing, that is available to them because it's outside the overlay district. I know that EDC, there are 2 parcels that I think at some point in the future, they're going to come and ask the city to add to the overlay district. But that is one of the benefits of the overlay district, is it allows those other industries to utilize those other open areas of the industrial park outside the overlay districts.
But you said it could be expanded, right?
It could be expanded. Geographically, it was kind of a goofy boundary, but we wanted to make sure to include all the existing facilities so that we wouldn't run into any legal issues by excluding them. But in the process for amending that would be, they'd have to go for planning, it'd have to be a public hearing, and then it would ultimately come to council for approval or denial.
Yes, Councilwoman.
Thank you, Mayor Snyder. I did watch the planning commission meeting, and with regard to a dedication to continuous improvement, can we receive clarification on how this process, given the circumstances, I realize there are many things that this could have been done differently, but in terms of engaging with the planning commission, so that this wasn't something that they were voting into, what would that have looked like?
Originally, this was intended to have gone to planning commission earlier than it did. There was some breakdown in communication, and for whatever reason, did not make it to planning commission. And so that's why it was a bit of a scramble at the end to get it before planning commission and get them to approve it and then bring it to council. So because we had a tight timeline, we had, like I said, we had intended all of the ordinances to basically, the ones that came before council at previous meetings to happen basically at the same time that the planning commission was looking at those ordinances, but for whatever reason, it didn't make it to planning commission. So ultimately, though, ideally, the way it would have played out is they would have modified the zoning at the same time we were modifying the general ordinances, and then it would have come to council probably a month ago or so to do the vote that you're doing tonight.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Yes, Mayor Pro Tem Jackson.
Yes, I did watch that as well. I felt kind of bad that that process was missed, with not communicating with them about what we did. No one was there to represent us. I thought we had some people there to represent us. No one said anything of what we did and why we did it. And to hear one of the gentlemen that has a business try to represent us, like what we did and why we've done it, thought that was kind of bad. So I took notes and I kind of want to understand more. So if we were to approve this the way that it is, what does the planning commission intend to do by amending whatever we do tonight?
I don't know that they have any immediate plans to amend. So here's the thing, planning commission can't amend the zoning ordinance unless you approve it. So if they decided, let's just say 6 months from now, they got a request from a business or a citizen that said, we want to expand overlay district A to include another parcel. They would have to have a public hearing, then they would go before planning commission, and planning commission would have to vote on whether or not they want to allow that expansion. Following planning commission, they make their recommendation to the city council saying, hey, we recommended this zoning, we want you to approve it. It's up to you though, as to whether or not the zoning ordinance gets amended. Planning commission only issues a recommendation.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Mayor Pro Tem Jackson?
Councilmember Lemieux,
Yes.
Williamson,
No.
Reed, yes, Jackson,
Yes.
Waller,
Yes.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. So I have a motion to approve the application for Bruggink.
Support.
Questions or comments? City Clerk Domingo?
Councilmember Williamson,
No.
Reed, yes, Jackson,
No.
Continue, please.
Waller,
No.
Lemieux,
No.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. So I have a motion to approve the resolution for the city council's commitment to improving council relations. Next, your public comment. Questions or comments? Councilman Williamson?
I do have one comment to make. While I agree with most of the changes that Councilmember Lemieux is proposing in this particular document, I just am concerned at the heavy-handedness that the demand on city employees is going to be, and the potential for the overreach of the council into the city operations. And so whether or not these changes pass, and I think the concern is there is such thing as engagement with city administration, directors at appropriate levels. You know, explain to me this new road situation. Hey, could y'all do this public safety information? But then it gets a little more murky into the world of directing. And, oh, I said it at this forum, or, you know, and then undermining the manager's ability to manage those employees as they, as city manager Snyder serves as their boss and direct supervisor. So, these are not concerns that I have not shared with Councilmember Lemieux. We had a great conversation about this earlier this week. I do get very concerned about this. I also get concerned about the taxing of the time of city employees. Because for every time that we demand that they come to something, there's going to be a storm or an ice storm or a sewer backup or whatever emergency happens in the city throughout the year, which is also going to demand their time. I know that I try to practice this in my own life and business, but that work-life balance is important. I think some of us feel like work-life counsel balance is even more important these days. And so I want to caution everyone about how we move forward with this, because the intentions are wonderful. But again, good intentions can also lead to some pretty serious consequences. So at least monitoring that as we move forward. I yield.
Any other questions, Councilmember?
Thank you, Mayor Snyder. I appreciate feedback. That's why I feel like we're all here, is to be able to engage in our feedback with one another. With regard to the substantive change in the third to last resolve of this, which directs the city manager in accordance to how Councilman Williamson had already written the resolution to direct the city manager to host bi-monthly town hall meetings. I wanted to make sure it's clear that the engagement that is already proposed to happen with regard to our street millage and our comprehensive plan are town hall meetings. And the reason why I have asked for this, which I did before this meeting, is because I think that residents having a chance to hear directly from the employees that are serving them is critically important right now. I am not an employee of the city. So when, as a council member, I'm holding a town hall meeting, it feels inadequate in order to answer the questions that are being posed. And so that was the only intent behind this. And if the majority of council does not agree with that portion of this, I would be more than happy to amend that. But that was the only intent. And also, just to be clear, what was previously written was that we would be hosting special meetings, which then required the city clerk to take meeting minutes and the mayor to preside and the attorney to attend. And when I held that meeting last week, I felt like it was an undue burden on the city staff to have to do that. The town hall meetings are a more appropriate way to engage residents. So that was also the primary reason for changing that.
If I can just add a few more comments. We do plan to hold town hall meetings to discuss, to educate our residents on the USDA application, on the proposed transportation asset management. So we are planning to do that. In all honesty, I just feel like we've not been given the chance to do that. It's kind of like now we are being forced to. And with having discussions with some of the members from my team, they've asked, okay, we're going to do this an increase in admin time, because I do have to think about work-life balance, and just expecting them to spend additional time away from their families to hold bi-monthly meetings. Again, we're not against engaging with the public, but I just want to be mindful that that is something that I'm thinking of, and I want to be respectful of my staff's time. And that we are planning to do the town hall meetings to discuss the important projects that we have coming, because it is important that all of our residents know what to expect with these projects. So you can expect to have those.
And I think that, so we're looking at every other month, or maybe we're just conscientious about what we're placing on the agendas for those town hall meetings, so that we're not expecting like Chief Kip to be at every single one or Director Arnold to be at every single one. So I think we can help mitigate that, and so that everybody has like equal time at these town hall meetings. Yes, Councilman Miller.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. I'm hearing work-life balance for workers. It needs to be a work-life balance for city council members too. I work there, I work 12 hours, I'm here, and hey, I need work-life balance too.
Amen. Yes, Councilman Lee.
I also just want to acknowledge the original intent of this was another component was to have an actual council relations task force, and we have not taken action on that. So I think that it is important to acknowledge within our resolutions to enact these changes, it's up to us to actually be able to follow through. And if I'm hearing correctly, in that, of course, we would take into account everybody's well-being and ability to hold this. And if there was a need to not have a meeting, then I think that that would be easily accommodated. So I just want to acknowledge that consistency.
Councilmember Reed,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Lawler,
Yes.
Lanu,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Motion to approve the discussion of the transportation asset management plan.
It's just discussion.
You can just say.
Yes, so thank you, Mayor. Council, as you can recall, we presented original potential street millage amounts to you all back early spring. At that time, or I guess during the summer regular meeting, at that time, you guys asked or tasked administration with seeking additional information on a potential local street millage, a low millage amount, a medium millage amount, and then a shoot for the moon. So we have done that. Before you will see. We have provided you with a proposed street millage increase in the amount of 3 mills, which will generate 250,000 annual revenue increase. 6 mills, which would generate 500,000, and then 9 mills, which would generate 750,000. So with these proposed increases, the city's average pacer rating scale, which rates the level of each road in our community. Right now, or in 2019, we have an average rating of a 3.05. So with the 3 proposed millage amounts, so 3 mills, that would improve our average pacer rating to a 3.8. It's still in the failing category, or poor, I should say. And then the 6 mills would increase our pacer rating to a 4.1. And then the 9 mills would increase it to a 5.1 pacer rating. And this is over a 20-year time span. So this is not an immediate fix. It is going to take some time to get that to improve the level or the condition of our roads. But I think when we first originally presented this, are we happy with the current status or condition of the roads? I think we often say no, we're not, with the amount of potholes and just the current condition. And as we said, unfortunately, it falls on the local governments or local units to pay for this. Right now, the Act 51, the funding that we receive from the state, it's not covering it. And our current free millage, street millage that we have, it's not doing the job either. I will probably say the city has done an excellent job in taking advantage of any grant dollars that have been made available to assist us in improving some of the roads. The biggest one we had this year, we just completed the first, second, third Wild and Cardinal Street project, but it's still not doing enough to where we have good roads in our community. So I just wanted to take this as kind of just an education, but essentially it falls on us and we need to decide. I think we're all tired of receiving complaints or calls about the conditions of our roads. So it's time for us to kind of step up and figure out what we're going to do about this. This funding will tie into the transportation asset management plan that we're working with VIII and Associates to develop. So this is a key piece to that plan. There's no sense of having a plan if we have no funding to be able to make some of the projects that have been identified in that plan come to life. So this is kind of the next step in getting that plan finalized. How are we going to pay for the improvements of our streets? So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. I also have a few members from VIII and Associates here to assist and answer any questions that you have. So Nikki and Bill, if you want to come forward at this time.
As you guys are coming forward, Councilman Williamson, you have a question?
Yeah, so this would have to be passed by a vote of the citizens, correct? So this would be a road millage, there's local public votes, this is something we do. And then secondly, would it be fair to, if we were gonna take this up and take it to the community, no matter what level, would it be fair to ask for the plan over the 20 years as to where we're gonna start and where we're gonna finish with this money. That way, I just think around bonds and villages right now, there's lots of questions about the unknowns and the unclear murkiness of some of them. And so if we were gonna take this to the voters, I know we can't be perfect at this, but I would like to say, well, here's where it's gonna start, and by the end of the 20 years, here's all the roads that will have been done, showing key priority zones throughout the city. Is that a fair thing that can be done if we were gonna do this?
Absolutely. I think the biggest piece we need to identify a source of funding. So I think if we have an idea of what that yearly, what we will bring in each year, it will allow Whiteman and Associates to to finalize that plan. They are going to be the ones who come up with the strategy to tackle our roads. And when talking with them, it's kind of best to have an outside agency manage this plan for us. Sometimes when you have an outside perspective, you can kind of see things better than someone who is in the day-to-day overseeing or handling, if that makes sense.
And then my last question was referring to bonding. So like with the water treatment, water wastewater thing, it looks like we can get all of that work done within a year, but we're gonna pay over a certain amount of years to do wastewater dollars that we'll bring in through quarterly bills. Is there a way to do something similar? So if we were going to do a road village, is there a way to bond it so that we can maybe have the project done in less than 20 years? Maybe the project's done in 5 or 10 years. Sorry, maybe the project is done in 5 or 10 years, but then we're still paying on it for the full 20. Is that a possibility? Because that would have maximum impact of benefit to the residents, showing them why we would want to raise the taxes this way.
Anderson, thank you, Mayor. Great question, Shane. So on that, first of all, you started out saying that put together a plan, which I think that's a good idea to share that information, what the improvements would be. In your comments, you also acknowledged that it would certainly change. A lot of communities do a 3 to 5 year plan, and that changes in that time because there's a new development, a new business, there's a new need, or maybe there's a grant opportunity that comes up where you can leverage those dollars, but this road that you planned on isn't eligible, and maybe shift it over here and push this back a year. So there's a lot of shuffling in that, but it does help to start out with a plan. Your question about bonding, yeah, a lot of communities will use, so your Act 51 money that Haley referenced, the purpose of that is intended for maintenance of your road system, both for major streets and local streets. It's not really intended to finance capital improvements. Communities that are efficient with that use some of those dollars for capital improvements, but it's really not meant for that. It's more for maintenance. It's your plowing, your potholing, crack sealing, things like that. So your local streets have, as Haley mentioned, your funding source is really the city itself. There's some federal dollars that go toward your federal aid eligible routes, but your local streets are really your responsibility. You did mention also on first, second, third well and Hartwell, we got an MDOT Category B grant. In my 25 years, this is the first time I've seen an MDOT grant for local. It targets local streets. They're typically for your heavy truck routes. Like we've gotten on Irwin, we've gotten on Erie in the past, North Clark, a couple different times. So this is the legislature committed to 5 years with that Category B. We received one this current year toward that project, $250,000. I think they have $2.5 million available annually. So it's not a lot. And if you get it once, you're probably not going to get it again. I think this is the 4th year of it. So we're probably not going to be able to rely on that. Back to your bonding question. Part of my long answer, I could talk about infrastructure for hours, but so you can use the same source as your Act 51, Michigan Transportation Fund. You can get bonds through MTF, and they will typically do a 10 or 15 year term on that. So you could accelerate. And then what you're borrowing against is your future Act 51 payments. So that is a source. You can also go on the open market if you wanted to. So there's a couple options for bonding for your roads. Typically don't want to go more than 15 years. 10 is probably a good amount because at least your major streets. Now, if we're looking at local streets, we could probably go 15 years. You don't get as much traffic on those, or as much damage by traffic. Whereas your major streets, when you have heavy truck traffic, that's really what damages our roads. The passenger vehicles, at least by calculation, theoretically don't do damage to roads. It's the heavier trucks. Did that answer your question?
Sure.
Yeah, Councilwoman Lindsay.
Thank you, Mayor Snyder.
Thank you very much for all of your hard work. I really appreciate having this information. So it's page 193 of our packet, but it's the chart that outlines the cost of the treatment and the estimated costs per lane and mile. The highest cost I see is $850,000 for the full reconstruction. And I was curious if that includes the replacement of our utility lines or the pipes of our.
Great question, and no, that does not, that's just for the roadway structure itself. So your water and sewer, so you cannot spend, like just as an example, your Act 51 money, you cannot spend that on water and sewer. Your water and sewer funds should fund all of your activities for those respective utilities. Your water should fund water, your sewer should fund wastewater, collection and treatment, water funds, water distribution and treatment and storage. So, and your Act 51 money is dedicated to transportation network. Good question.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I recall with the reconstruction of downtown, that was a really fundamental part of it. And my understanding is that the city has committed to including that in as many reconstruction projects as we have. Would it be possible, is it appropriate to ask for those figures so we can have an understanding of the total cost involved that the city would need to anticipate?
For water and sewer?
Yes, for like, for example, the quarter mile.
Yeah. Yep, I could probably give you a quick ballpark here. You know, your water, you're probably looking at about 1.3 million per mile. And maybe a million to 1.3, something like that. Depends on the size too. So we just did Irwin Avenue, that was 1.2 miles, and I think the water portion of that was about 1.2 million. So it's about $1 million a mile there.
Okay.
That was for a 12-inch water main.
Okay.
So sewer is probably similar to that.
And that's on top, so that would be together, like 2.4.
Yeah, but I think if you do that, you probably get some economies of scale because the project becomes more attractive to a contractor and they can do multiple operations. So you do get some economy with that. The other thing you can do with that is you can leverage your water and sewer funds to help fund indirectly some of those roadway improvements. And what I mean by that is, let's say you wanted to replace a water main on a road, and that was just your sole intention and purpose. We're doing a water main project. Well, you have to remove the pavement to get down to the water main, and once you put the new water main in, you have to replace the pavement. If you're doing a water main improvement project, you can fund 100% of that with your water fund. Similar with your sewer fund. You can, at a bare minimum, your water fund has to pay for the plumbing, the pipe, the water main, the hydrants, the services, the fittings, the valves, all of those absolutely must come out of your water fund, but you have flexibility on that, on the trench itself. So you can say this is just a water project and everything comes out of the water fund. Or you could say we're gonna do roadway and water, and we're gonna fund the water main replacement, and our streets fund is gonna cover the surface work. But there is flexibility in that. And the advantage to that is that you have full control over your water and sewer funds. We had discussion on that earlier this evening, so you can adjust those rates for those utilities, and you need to maintain that infrastructure. You can call and email Lansing for more Act 51 money. I'm pretty sure it's not going to do any good. So your Act 51 revenue, you have a millage that you could do. You guys have a 3 mil that's been in place, and the city's done. It's pretty impressive, I think. As long as I've worked with the city's been tackling local streets consistently. But you have a lot of miles of road, and a lot of them were let go, and you've all driven around. There's no shortage of need. There's just a shortage of dollars, I would say.
Any other questions or comments?
All right, well, thank you guys for the information and your expertise on this. Future agenda items. Anybody have anything for the next council meeting that they would like to address? Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. I would like to, is there a way that I can know how our, taxes for property, like the inside of the businesses, is that called property taxes, right?
The personal property
Personal
taxes.
property, okay. Is there a way we can, see what, personal properties have not been addressed? Because a personal property, has come to my attention that needs to be addressed.
Any other future agenda items?
Actually, I have a question. Thank you, Mayor Sarah. With regard to the cleaning of the sewer basins in the street, I didn't think it was a matter that needed to be discussed at council. But Attorney Harkins, can you clarify with regard to my question about fielding responses from residents who might be in need of volunteers to help clear sewer basins? Is this something that actually needs to be voted on, or could I just discuss it as a council member comment?
You can just discuss it. It was just that you were asking the balance of council if it was okay to do that. And so when you get into that, you get into kind of an email deliberation. I wanted you to avoid that, to avoid any potential OMA violation.
So do you want to put that on the next agenda for discussion?
I don't think it's a discussion item, but I think it's just an announcement. I was just planning to announce it at the end of this meeting.
So are we good with the agenda items? Okay. We have public comments now. So if anybody in the gallery would like to stand and address council, they can do so at this time. You just need to state your name, address.
Sally Brown, 713 Orchard Drive. I want to thank you all for the vote as far as the DDA appointment. I also want to mention, you know, I watch every council meeting, and I've lately been attending Marshall School Board meetings. I was at a meeting last Monday and heard Mayor Snyder read a letter to the Marshall School Board, and she read it on behalf of City of Albion. And I don't remember council taking a vote or having a discussion to clarify the intent of the vote on April 24th. So it is my feeling that the letter was read by the mayor as a personal interpretation, but presented on behalf of the city. And I want to say, you know, it's time for equity in this community. And it's been a long time coming. And this issue was not a new issue. But I sat here tonight, and I'm even watching the council meeting, and I saw people being allowed to speak freely at this podium that were not listed on this agenda. But at the last council meeting, Ms. Gamble was rudely cut off when she attempted to answer a question that was posed that she could answer. So even, you know, small things like that, they're really noticeable. They're really noticeable. And it's not a training issue. I know some of you would like to believe so, but a lot of these things are very intentional. Okay? So when you know better, you do better. And that's what I'm expecting. And I'm also expecting
you all as a body lead this community in an equitable way, and that means holding each other accountable when need be. Okay, thank you.
Good evening to this honorable body, Madam Mayor. My name is Tracy Peters. I live at 3494 Harvard in Detroit, 48224. I am here tonight for just your meeting, and I was really pleased to get this opportunity to do so. And I was very pleased to hear you talk about work-life balance a second ago, because the tenor of my comments are much more speaking to that part of what this body does. There's a little bit of technicalness because it's about a resolution passed, but generally I'm here for all the work you do as a body that's not in ordinance. You do a lot of work as a governing body, a locally elected body. You speak and you take feedback from the community and you put it into action. That takes real skill and service. And so first let me thank you for that. The ordinance, the resolution I want to talk about was 2021-28, and that involved your M99 discussion and expansion. I was pleased to see a unanimous vote on that. I'll say why from my two perspectives. One, as a fairly regular patron of the Albion economy, I know for certain audiences I need to speak that way. You know, I'm not of a business background, of a public service background. But since about 1984, I've spent a fair amount of money here, you know, as a former Albion student, and I did graduate. When I lived in Chicago, I was back and forth all the time. You know, this is always my destination. And quite honestly, when it's not a local or a Black-owned business or a legacy business in Detroit, Albion is where I come to shop for things. You know, I realized I have learned the importance of local business to a local community. I felt your parking vote gave the most deference to that. That's a perspective we haven't had in Detroit since the bankruptcy. Our local business voices are silenced. I understood your business leaders came together, and I don't have to agree with the premises of their business, but just the concept of local businesses being able to come together and address their elected body. I haven't seen that in Detroit. I'm also finishing out my term as a charter commissioner in Detroit. Under the Home Rule City Act, you know, we're seated for 3 years and officially ends November 6th. And I wanted to thank you for setting a very good example of how you engaged with community. Even tonight, I can see that you do it. I mean, you have differing perspectives, but you take, at least what I saw tonight is you take the time to slow down, to respond to council's questions. I'm very appreciative that you're here to govern. I live near a local business corridor, the East Warren Business District, and I felt that the plans that you considered in your working group is something I can share with those local businesses because we're considering something similar. And that's me as a resident, not a charter commissioner anymore. So thank you once again. I love Albion. It's like my second home. I thank you for your service.
Good evening, Council. Garrett Brown, 1016 South Superior Street. So just a small point and a big point. So with when we adopted the rules, the council was a procedure. The point was to make the meetings run more efficiently, and then also to kind of tamp down on some of the disruptive things that can happen either from the council or from the audience. And one of the things I wanted to point out why it's important to know the rules is actually under Rule 10C. For example, when you all removed the item from the consent agenda and had a vote, we didn't need to do that. The rule says that basically any one of the council members can request for an item in consent to be removed. So there didn't have to be a vote. Just one person could request it. So it's important for council and your legal counsel to understand the rules to be able to operate efficiently, because then it's easier to move around the meeting. So also I was at the school board meeting on Monday, watched the video as well. The code of ethics that the city has, it's ordinance section 1-28, and then in the subsection H, one of the things that the ordinance prohibits. I'm gonna get it here so I can read it. It literally says in that section, I should have had this pulled up. Here it is, okay. So representation of private interests. A city council member shall represent the official policies and positions of the city council to the best of their ability when they're designated, so they're chosen as designates, which are representative for that purpose, okay? So that's if one of you all were appointed to another board on behalf of the city. The second part of it says, when presenting their individual opinions and positions, city council members shall neither state nor imply that they represent the opinions or positions of the city council, the city of Albion. So one of the things, and you know, really, I'm just kind of, when she said that, it made me think of that. Unless the council votes and takes a position, no one can say, I'm speaking on behalf of the city of Albion. And actually, under the code of ethics, that's like a tier 2 infraction. So you can do with that what you may, but that's something that's very serious. And then in my last 18, 17, 16 seconds here, what I'm seeing is a situation in our city right now where we really have a chance to do something great for our kids once in a generation. And it's being fumbled because of egos and power tripping between some stakeholders in our community, and we need to fix that. Thank you.
Anybody else like to address? Commissioner Tompkins?
Yes, I will. Madam Mayor, council members, City Manager Snyder, Clerk Domingo, residents of the city of Albion, and those folks watching this evening, good evening. Gary Tompkins, your Calhoun County Commissioner. Great to be with you guys tonight. Try to be brief as quickly as I can. Absolutely. First and foremost, on the county-wide broadband task force front, hopefully to bring high-speed internet to everybody in Calhoun County, which is certainly much needed. If you guys remember the merit survey that was being conducted, it is, as a matter of fact, being conducted through the end of October. Currently, right now, we have a little over 1,200 surveys that have been completed. Our target was 1,400. So if you get an opportunity and you have not completed the survey yet, go to michiganmoonshot.org/Calhoun, and it'll take you 3 minutes to fill the survey. It'll really help us out in terms of we move forward in determining the specific needs to everybody, hopefully in Calhoun County. We also met on October 7th as part of that broadband task force to continue our discussion about the upcoming feasibility study and cost benefit analysis, what it's actually going to take to bring high-speed internet to everybody in Calhoun County. Depending on the timing of the completion of the feasibility study, we could be shovel ready by spring of 2022 in theory, which is a good thing because we know there are millions and millions of dollars at not only the state, but the federal level for high-speed internet access. So the quicker we get to that, being obviously making sure we follow the steps, but making sure that we get to that point so that we have that availability, because going forward, it's going to be important. We're also going to be breaking into smaller work groups to address different areas, from educational to business to economic, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll be able to be breaking down to really see what those issues are and what those needs are. As you folks know, living in not only in the city of Albion, but just all across the east side of Calhoun County, it's a struggle to have high-speed internet anywhere, as a matter of fact. So it's very, very important, the fact that we work on this. Also, too, the Calhoun County Health Department is offering Calhoun County residents the additional dose of the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine for those of you that were vaccinated with the with the Pfizer vaccine. Clinics on Wednesdays in October. Albion on this Wednesday, October 20th, at the Opportunity High School from 8 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. You have the opportunity to get your third dose of that booster shot. Obviously, it's for anyone who's received the second Pfizer dose in at least 6 months ago and met the following criteria: 65 years or older, 18 to 64 with some compromised health conditions, or 18 to 64 in a high impact or high risk employment situation. So those are the first on the list, but I wanted to make sure everybody was aware of that because that is available as we go forward. My monthly newsletter, always interesting, folks. I sit here tonight and I listen to your street village discussion. And you know how very much roads are so important, very much to me, and have been for the last, say, that's 2 years specifically. I've really worked hard on this. But, you know, I really focused this month in my newsletter on what those road funding ideas are in Lansing, those ideas that they propose that they are. You know what those ideas are, which is great. We're gonna turn our roads back to gravel. Isn't that wonderful? Let's just turn all roads back to gravel. Or we can build electrified roads to charge moving electric vehicles. How much of an impact is that gonna be for the city of Albion? And then the third thing is what you guys talked about this evening is, if you want your road fixed, pass large millages in your township and municipality, you guys know the economic impact, certainly the hardship that could cause for a lot of your residents. Just let's be honest about that. And then the fourth thing that I heard 2 weeks ago on Monday night, I was with a state legislator and a state senator. Their next idea is, well, we're gonna do toll roads now. So we're just gonna put cameras up, we're gonna take pictures and then mail it to you in terms of what it's gonna cost you. Is that the best we can do in Lansing in terms of finding a solution to which we know Act 51 is absolutely no longer, it doesn't work anymore. It's beyond that. Think about that, folks. You guys are putting together 3, 6, and 9 mills. It's gonna, that 9 mills, even at 9 mills, get you 750,000, which will get you approximately, if you listen to Whiteman's construction of 800,000, get you maybe a mile a year. And it's over 20 years. You know, I mean, you guys got multiple miles of roads. One of the things I gotta talk to you about, the state right now, because you guys know they just passed their budget, right? $8 million increase, 3 million of it's COVID, so I'm not gonna include the COVID money, but a $5 billion increase in the budget, $5 billion increase in the budget. You know how much they spent adding for roads? $129 million of that $5 billion. That's about 2.5%. So when I break that down amongst 83 counties, 533 municipalities, and the state, Michigan Department of Transportation, County will get about $650,000 extra. That'll get us maybe 2 miles of road, maybe if we're lucky. You know how much that means for the city of Albion? You guys will get a whopping $48,219.13. How far is that gonna get you? So my point is, when the state legislators come up to you and they say, look at all the great job we've done with roads, right? I wish they would have been here tonight to hear your discussion. Because you guys are right on the front line, just like myself are, because I get those calls as well. People are upset about potholes and roads and oh my gosh. And I get it because you know what? I'm with them too. I'm frustrated because I have to drive on those just like you guys have to. You know, and I find it interesting, as you most know, unfortunately, we lost Colin Powell today. Certainly reflect on just a great person that he was. And I was looking at Powell's 13 rules. Number 4 says, one of his rules is, it can be done. Leaders make things happen. If one approach doesn't work, find another. We're really at that tipping point where Act 51 no longer is the answer to our discussions that we're having. It's no longer the answer. Think about this, folks. You put 55 cents a gallon in gas tax every time you go to the pump. I had a representative tell me that we should be using money exclusively for the most miles traveled on a road. I don't know last time you told me, but the people in the city of Albion are putting the same 55 cents a gallon no matter where you're living in the state of Michigan. It isn't like, well, Albion, you don't have as many miles of travel, so maybe you only should have 10 cents in gas tax. The others that have that most heavily traveled get 55 cents. No, we're all paying 55 cents. And then what I find ironic, electric vehicles. Great thing, right? I have no issues with electric vehicles, but think about this. How much money are electric vehicles contributing to roads right now? Care to guess? 0. Because how are roads funded in the state of Michigan? Through the gas tax exclusively. And our legislators have not thought about it. I'm not saying electric vehicles are a bad idea, but we got to think about what that alternative means of funding is going to be. If electric vehicles, as they get more and more, that the gas tax revenue goes down, we have less money to spend on roads. But we're not thinking like that in Lansing. Instead, I don't know what we're thinking about, because 129 million, you guys get 49,000. You got a bridge on Albion Street that supposedly, I think funding wise is supposed to be 2023, 2024. If the bridge lasts that long, because if you guys can walk down there, you guys have seen that bridge and you guys know how bad it is. I'm just saying is, and I've been respectful as much as I can to our state legislators, but they really need to understand that, because I really wish, and I would hope they would look at your video tonight and see you guys discuss about that. Honest discussion about how difficult it is for you guys as a city to do the best you can. You made a comment, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, Hartwell Streets, you're doing the best you can, but even then it's not going to be sufficient. It just doesn't work. So all I'm going to say is I'm going to continue to press the issue. If I can get Albion another $1.2 million as part of my plan, as well as everybody else in the state gets an increase, why wouldn't we do something different? Give it 5 years. I would hope to think that if you get a chance to talk to your state legislators, ask them the question. Ask them specifically, what are they going to do to improve it, knowing that Act 51 is not going to be the solution to our problem. Again, I apologize for harping on that, but I feel you guys' pain, because You know what, I drive those city streets, you guys drive them, we drive the roads in and around, and, you know, I get people that call me and say, Gary, what are you gonna do about that $1,200 tie rod I have to replace? What are you gonna do about that tire I got blown? You know, I feel it, I feel that, because a lot of people, maybe they can't afford to do that, and they lose their transportation, and now they can't go to work. Think about that, it's a domino effect for these folks, and I feel bad for that. We've got to do something better. So enough with my thing there. Real quickly, redistricting. Most of you know redistricting is going on in the state of Michigan. Starting to somewhat get some press right now, but I just want to give you guys an update and give you a feel in terms of what redistricting means to Albion specifically. First and foremost, on the congressional side, many of you know that Peter Meyer is currently our congressman representing the 3rd district. Well, he will no longer be your congressman. You will be voting on a new congressperson next year, because the 3rd district, his district, is going to be in Grand Rapids, and we are going to be in a newly formed district with Jackson and Calhoun, and then we go south to Hillsdale, Branch, Lenawee, Monroe, St. Joseph, Cass, and a small part of Berrien. So we go boom, and right along the border counties, right along Indiana-Ohio line. And that's what they're bringing forth to the public hearings on this coming week. I think 20th, I think their first one is in Detroit. So just to give you guys an update, that's where Albion fits into the congressional district. Currently, right now, just so you know, Tim Wahlberg and Fred Upton both they share that district. It's a combining of that district. So just so you guys know. On the Senate side, Senator Bison is currently our senator. He will not be our senator based on the maps going forward next year. You'll be voting on a new senator. Marshall going east. So those of us in the city of Marshall going east, which includes us, we will be going into Jackson and all the way into Washtenaw County. Not to Ann Arbor, but we'll be in all of Jackson and Washtenaw. That's what our Senate district will look like. The other half of Calhoun County, which would be Marshall going outside of Marshall going west, Battle Creek, will go up into Berry and Ionia County. So that's how they've got. So they've got the Senate district, and 2 districts are split with us. So that's what we're going to do. So you'll be voting on a new senator next year. New senator next year. Yes, Chelsea's part of that. Chelsea's part of that Senate district. Yeah, basically what it does is it goes into Washtenaw and then it goes around Ypsi and Ann Arbor. Because Ypsi and Ann Arbor have their own district, their own set district. So that's how it looks. So it's going to be half of Calhoun, all of Jackson, and then Washtenaw, with the exception of Ypsi and Ann Arbor. So just to give you guys an update, because I know it hasn't been a lot of publicized about it. And if you haven't had a chance to watch the meetings like I have, I've watched very intently on the commission, just curious. And then on the House district side, many of you know right now how you guys are shaped right now. You go from Battle Creek and down to Albion, all the way into Albion Township in that district. The 2 maps that are being brought forward are going to look exactly the same, with the exception of Albion Township's being dropped off. So Albion Township will not be in your House district next time around. So you technically, currently, Representative Hodgman is your representative. If he runs again, then you would be voting on a potentially re-elected incumbent. But just so you guys, just some information for you. And then finally, last but not least, county commission districts. Yes, we also do redistricting at county commission district level too as well. And I'm here to tell you that the 7th district stays the same, which is a good thing. I like the 7th district. It's cool. It's the best district in Calhoun County. But because of the population we lost on our side of the county, they've had to do some adjustments. So what's happening is that I am going to get Marengo and Eckford added on to my district and dropping Clarendon Township, and Clarendon's going to the 6th district. So I'm adding 1 additional township onto my list, but other than that, 7th district stays intact. So just to give you guys that whole deal, because I think it's important for you guys to know kind of what, because you guys know as I do, once these maps are in place, we're with them, we're on it for the next 10 years. We're stuck with them, whatever you like, if you like them, if you don't like them. So just want to give you guys those updates. So other than that, always great to see you folks. And again, I'm always available. If you need me for anything, give me a phone call, give me an email, and I'm always happy to help you folks in the city of Albion the way I can. So that being said, thank you guys. Have a great evening. Thank you.
Hi, Morris Arvoy, 417 Elizabeth Street, Albion, Michigan. Thank you, Redistricting, for once again disadvantaging the historic voting patterns of the city of Albion. But I'd like to commend the council. This was not as much fun, but everybody got along. So that's great. Thank you. That was really good. And also thanks for the kind words about Colin Powell, a great man who's definitely being mourned today. I think the mayor's point in her letter about whether or not the city council was actually voting on endorsing a school location is actually the point that the mayor was trying to make, if I read the letter and heard her comments correctly. So the technicalities of who she was speaking for, and I can't speak to that because I don't know the laws there. But I asked the council to maybe address that point and maybe clarify it, because there's a lot of misinformation going around still. And if you feel that the Board of Education is spreading misinformation about the intent or the outcome of that vote, then I encourage you maybe to take a vote on what you feel about that vote or where a school should go. Because I'm sure the Board of Education would be really interested to hear about that. And, you know, I think that the process of the bond has been really a fraught one. We're in this time right now when, yeah, it's really heated. And I would just like to make the comment that if the hand of the college president were not all over this process and the people involved in it, it would be a lot easier for a lot of people to make up their mind about the bond and about where a school should go, including, I think, many of us in this room right now. There would be integrity in this process and not all this backroom wheeling and dealing, writing of things for people and influencing people in certain ways. We don't get to do that, influence people in certain ways, but that certainly is going on directly by the college president. And I'm sorry, I'm just going to say it. So I ask that we bring integrity back to this process of the bond. And I think that that's what's causing so much problem for so many people over this issue. It's that we see the handprint of the college president all over all of this. So if we could get that out of it, selecting a location for a school and whether or not we want to vote for the bond would be so much easier for the citizens of Albion and the citizens of Marshall. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. City manager's report.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. A copy of my report was included in the packet. So Granger Services, I received a notice from Granger that there has been an increase in extra bags being left at the curb with the trash containers. Per the current Granger contract, if a resident has more trash than the 96 gallon or 65 gallon container may hold, they can place up to 10 extra bags on the outside of their cart to be serviced. The charge for additional bags will be $2 per bag. Please note, Granger has not been enforcing that $2 charge. However, with the increase in the amount of waste that they have been collecting, we're looking at, we may have to start enforcing that, that fee. I met with Scott Truman last week to discuss the process or how we do this. He will be coming to our next council meeting. I know that there has been a change on since we renewed that contract, so you may have not met him, so he will be coming to present to council next meeting to just go over our contract that we have with them and to kind of just educate our residents before we start, before they see an increase in fee on their bill. So you can expect to hear an update from him on that. So we want to educate our residents before they start enforcing that fee. So just note that that is coming. The quarterly city county meetings that are held by our county administrator, myself and the mayor, we attended that on Friday, October 8th. Countywide transportation was the main topic of discussion. They have received the results back from the survey, and it is a need all across Calhoun County. They also provided us with some estimates on cost to provide this level of service, and obviously it's not going to be cheap. So next step, I think right now, since Battle Creek is the only city who has a primary source of public transportation, they will be meeting with working with the county and then city of Marshall to discuss, okay, next steps. I think we need to bring in a consultant, someone who can help us finalize the process in getting this in place. So they continue to work on that, and I will provide you with any updates as I receive them, but we are continuing to make sure that we can provide a countywide transportation to our residents here in Calhoun County. The DDA meeting, they held their regular meeting last Wednesday, October 13th. They reviewed and approved their 2022 budget, discussed winter decorations for the downtown and 2 new possible downtown events, the Gospel Fest and first annual Albion Harvest, which is looking to be held on November 20th. And the next DDA meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, November 10th at 7:30. Just want to remind everyone trick or treating. The Albion City Council passed Resolution 2019-34, designating October 31st of each year as the official date for trick or treating, with a time set for 6 to 8 p.m. So just want to put that out there that that is the yearly time for trick or treating. 2022 budget study session has been scheduled for Saturday, November 6th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. where we will present to you all the budget for next year. So please add that to your calendar. Council, you have approved to close some local streets for special events. When discussing this, I think we need to put a formal policy or a formal process in place. So I think the minute that we say no to someone, we don't really have anything to back what our reasoning for declining their request would be. So I'm working with some members from my team to research special events policies, and we're looking to draft something, and we'll be presenting to council for formal approval so that we have just a formal process in place. And then MML coaching, I had my first session with the MML coach last Friday. It was a great pleasure. I'm excited to work with her. It went really well. I did share the feedback that you all, that you would like to hold off on the joint session until we can fill the precinct 1. She thought that was a great idea. She has thrown out that we will do the joint session with council and city administration for sometime in December. So we will send out a few dates so that we can come together, work through some of our issues, understand the process for our unit form of government, and that we can go into 2022 with a fresh start and working on together. So please stay tuned for a few future dates to get that scheduled. And that is all I have.
Councilman comments? Yes. Probably.
I have something to say about that meeting that we had too. And I'm gonna read this because I don't want to mess up anything. For anyone who does not know me, I am Councilwoman Miley Grant, Precinct 2. I'm a former teacher in the Albion public school system. I'm the last African-American teacher that is still teaching when the Albion public schools became a part of the Marshall public schools. I taught in Albion for 36 of my 38 years as an educator. I too, as many other people and past teachers, think that Albion needs a new school. Harrington is so outdated, and with COVID, all the schools need a better ventilation system, because when I was there, it was ridiculous then. I know what it is now. I appreciate and admire Dr. Johnson for being the first to offer assistance and partnership. Not only will it help Albion college students learn to be excellent teachers, but it will help our kids. After being virtual for almost a year due to COVID, they will get more help, one-on-one help, that will greatly improve their skills. The most important thing at this time, though, is getting the millage passed. And that's what I want to talk about, because we need to get the millage passed. Not talking about where the school is going to be, but getting the millage passed. Our kids deserve a better facility in which to learn. Everyone is entitled to their opinion. If you ask me mine, I will tell you my opinion, because the tax that I pay for that school is coming out of my bank account. No one else's. And I will not speak for anyone else on this council. The way I see it, it was very disrespectful for how Shauna was treated last council meeting And hopefully, we will learn more respect for the people who we have to deal with in other circumstances.
Any other council member comments? Yes, Councilmember.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. I just wanted to take the time to just talk to the council and, my city manager, if I may. Not being degrading or anything like that, but I just wanted to talk about, something that I'm going through as far as a city official. On the Festival of the Forks, we had an inauguration. And during that inauguration, there was a dinner. And at this dinner, those that attended was challenged to write on this purple rock about commitments that we wanted for our city. So I put unity, partnerships, and become one, because I think that Albion is so afraid to do these three things, and it's just my opinion. It is very hard to represent people that have different positions. I look at everyone in my precinct as someone that I need to help. And everybody in my precinct know that I am there to help them. No matter what their title is, no matter where they work or how much education they have, if there is a need, I'm there to see what it is and try to help with it. And that's my pledge for the whole, not only just for the city of Albion, but for my precinct. So when I see things being two-sided, this is just what I see. I'm not saying that it's going on, but this is just what I see. It makes my job very hard when all of us choose sides. I don't think we should be choosing sides. Anything that can help us get a road fixed, anything that can help us better our kids' education, we should be in there finding that out, what we can do to come together to make these things happen and be more successful for our community. I do see a lot of side picking. I don't want to choose sides, because the two sides that I feel like I'm being, I'll say this word because we've been using it all night, bullied. You know, that's a strong word to me, because during my council tenure, I've heard it a lot. I don't like it, but I am experiencing it, and it's trying to make me choose sides. I like both of these sides. I don't want to choose. So I'm just asking my council members, to anybody that want to help us, that we take heed to it and we see what we can do. You know, I know we got a lot of feedback from our community, but us 6, almost 7, should at least find out what we can do to find common ground. I do not want to choose sides, so I don't want you to do it either. That's just what I'm want to say to all of my fellow council members, and hopefully it is received with love, and that's my case.
Any other comments?
Thank you, Mayor Snyder. I wanted to bring back up the cleaning of our sewer basins to make sure that as both leaves continue to fall and we have heavy rains, that the residents in our community who are unable to maintain that work have the help that they need. So I know probably all of you are already receiving any calls or concerns, but I just wanted to ask that if we are able to get volunteers to help with that work and share that assistance across the city, offering for residents who need that help to, I'm putting myself as the point of contact if we're able to do this, but also if people are more comfortable contacting each of you,
that we will be able to work together collaboratively, and I just wanted to make sure that I had your consent before sharing that. So that if there's any feedback or concerns or anything that you think that I should be aware of, I just ask that you share that.
Any other comments? We have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Support.
Councilmember Reed. Jackson.
Yes.
Ballhorn.
Yes.
Lanu.
Yes.
Williamson.
Yes.
Mayor Snyder.
Yes, meeting adjourned at 8:55 PM.